Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Tevis-Finn recording from room 114. Welcome to the Cold War. We're on the guided notes that says Origins of Cold War Parts 1 and 2. And so I'd like to begin with a question. For when I first taught this unit, the Cold War began a certain date and it ended. So I'd like to revisit the fact that, is the Cold War really over? So let's begin with this photograph. It's taken at a famous meeting called the Yalta Conference. Hopefully you guys recognize who's seated, but I'm just going to go over. This is Winston Churchill, Prime Minister for Great Britain. This is FDR, who is certainly looking quite haggard. And here is Joseph Stalin. Alright guys, so the main topic then of this screencast is in 1945 February, so we're still in the war. Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin meet at this Soviet resort on the Black Sea to plan the post-war world. And my question for you is, how do the decisions made at this meeting play a large role in starting the Cold War? So this is just some bullets to go over the big picture. I'm going to have you guys write some stuff down in just a sec. But, this is kind of interesting that Stalin agreed to enter the war against Japan after Germany surrendered, so there was that decision made. This is key right here, guys. The USSR would get territorial gains in Poland. This is huge. This is going to have monumental consequences. That Germany, they decided, would have 4 zones of occupation after the war. This is designed for world peace. The UN would meet in San Francisco. So the goals, peace is primary. To aid people in distress, there's going to be so much work to do after the war. To form temporary governments where countries have been broken, certainly allowing for free elections. So this liberated Europe, we're going to see this declaration drawn up that certainly mirrors the Atlantic Charter. And it's really to promote this right for all people to choose their own form of government. Key in this declaration, guys, is no Nazism or fascism. And just to recap, Truman obviously fills FDR's shoes. We learned that with our discussion on the bomb. But we're also going to be looking a lot at the president that comes after Truman, Eisenhower, who you guys should remember planned D-Day. So these are your 2 key players in the early parts of the Cold War. And then, just as important, I want you guys to make sure you know Joseph Stalin on the left and his prime minister here on the right, Molotov. So I want you to know them. Alright guys, I want you to start writing down some of your things that you might know from previous history classes or from current events. So where it says brainstorm, guys, please put down, what you think are 3 key differences between communism and democracy. So I want you to do that on your own so that in your groups you guys can do some cool posters. Alright guys, let's get right into number 1, Poland. I chose this picture of a cheering crowd. Here is a Soviet tank, and this is significant. The Soviets liberate, they free Poland from the Nazis. So under A, I want you to put that after this happens, they set up a communist government. This is like the first spark. For under B, Roosevelt and Churchill instead advocated for the Polish people's right to self-government. The quote there says, "what we went to war for." So Roosevelt and Churchill are saying it is important to make sure that people can choose their own government. Look at the devastation from World War II. C, Stalin disagrees, based on the history of invasion in his country. Other countries have used Poland to get to his country. So under A, the Soviets needed an ally to protect their border. This is an important map to illustrate my point that, here's the Soviet Union and here is Poland. So Germany used Poland, crossed through Poland to get to Stalin's Soviet Union during the war. There's even previous invasions from other wars in Russian history. So they are concerned about this border here. D, the 3 leaders compromise. they allow the Soviets to set up a Polish government, as long as Stalin allows pre-war Polish government members to join and free elections. Those are two important things that Stalin must promise to do. So, from the Yalta Conference was this Declaration of Liberated Europe. It stated, and I quote, "the right of all people to choose their form of government under which they live, to create democratic institutions, and the earliest possible establishment through free elections for governments responsive to the will of the people." And from my intro, remember I stressed the no Nazism and fascism was part of that, and also that it is coming from the language of the Atlantic Charter. Certainly mirrors that document that Churchill and FDR did together in 1941. All right, so this is about Germany, number 3. The Allies agreed to divide Germany into 4 zones, controlled by the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. B. Even the capital Berlin would be divided, even though it was in the Soviet zone. This is important, guys. This is going to be another center for conflict later on. C. Stalin was pleased because it made Germany weak, but he still required Germany to pay for the destruction to his country. D. Roosevelt agreed Germany had to pay, but it should be calculated according to Germany's economy. So he was trying to stress that trading and allowing allies to remove industrial equipment from Germany instead of paying back money. So let me just point out, guys, here are the zones, and so if Germany is broke, the allies can remove equipment like factories, anything used for your economy. They can remove it instead of asking Germany to pay in cash. This caused increasing tension between the United States and the Soviets because Stalin felt shortchanged. Number 4, escalation. 2 weeks after the Yalta Conference, the Soviets pressured the King of Romania into appointing a communist government. What do we think pressure here actually means? Does it mean the presence of Soviet troops and the army in your streets? Definitely. B. The U.S. then accuses the Soviets of violating the Declaration of Liberated Europe. C. The Soviets also did not allow more than 3 non-communist Poles to serve in an 18-member Polish government. They also did not offer free elections as promised. On to the next page, I think, but definitely let's see, where am I? E. Roosevelt informed them that this was unacceptable. F. Yalta was a turning point in Soviet-American relations. For under G, guys, FDR had hoped that an Allied victory in the creation of the UN would lead to world peace. H. However, as the war ended, the U.S. and Soviets became increasingly hostile towards each other, leading to an era of confrontation and competition that lasted from 1945-46. There used to be an ending date, you guys, of 1990, known as the Cold War, but I would like to point out that 2014, there is still evidence that the Cold War is not over. Under number 5, what is the Soviet agenda? Under A, they wanted to keep Germany weak and make sure that the countries between them were under Soviet control. So this means, under B, that security is one of their main goals. So just check out this map. And so these countries here in green, for the USSR, are like buffer zones. They need to keep the USSR safe. C. Soviet leaders also believed that communism was a superior economic system that would eventually replace capitalism. D. So they encouraged communism in all the countries that surrounded them. E. They also accepted Lenin's theory that capitalist countries would seek to destroy them. So guys, this leads to suspicion being their other main concern. So security and suspicion now is their other main concern. F. So all of this, guys, leads to even more tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. All right, everybody, I'm going to finish with number 6, the American agenda. So why do you think I opened up with a picture of Hitler and Emperor Hirohito? So let's actually just go to A. Our American agenda is that we were much more economic concerns were more important than political. Boy, I can't talk. So their main concerns were more economic than political. So I think it was just Hitler and Hirohito who got me all flustered. All right, guys, B. So many officials, in our country and in other allies believe that the Great Depression had caused World War II, leading to Hitler's rise and Japan wanting to expand its empire, right? Invading, for example, Manchuria, the raping of Nanking. So this is important, guys, because world trade was reduced during the Depression. And when nations stop trading, they are forced into war to get more resources. C. FDR and his advisors believed that economic growth was the key to peace, so they looked to increase trade. D. This fueled the ideas of democratic governments that protected people's rights were more stable economically. So this idea, guys, that democracy is going to help economy, that is key. So the best route to prosperity was a free market system with private property rights and limited government intervention, which, guys, basically is the opposite of communism. This is Tevi signing off. This is the conclusion of Part 1. Part 2 will start right where it says Truman for number 7. Have a great night, everybody. Hope to see you all with your guided notes filled out. Bye.